Good morning. I'll call this meeting to order. We have a quorum. All three commissioners are present. And from Centralia High School, Yvonne, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move that we approve the minutes of February 8th.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections?
No?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Public comment. We have several students from Centralia High School that would like to comment, and we'll start out with Morgan Fast. Kennedy.
Thank you.
In 2009, this was called the most dangerous safety issue in the city of Centralia. Lexi Poole, a 10th grader at Centralia High School, stated, "Honestly, walking home is very scary. I always have to walk in the road through the busyness to avoid getting my feet soaked in puddles. It gets even worse when a school bus drives by because they don't give us any space to walk. I feel like I'm going to get hit." The issue that we are here presenting today is the lack of sidewalks outside of Centralia High School on Esham Road, Mount Vista Road, and Borst Avenue. And as you can see, we've put up a couple of pictures for you of the terrible walking conditions that students at our high school and middle school have to put up with every day. And you'll also see some pictures in your packets today, as well as some comments from our petition supporters. And we also have our official project proposal in there, the letter. So now we have a couple of other students who would like to present their ideas on this topic as well.
Kennedy Woods.
Lujan Rodriguez says during football season, they walk to the stadium with the band, and there is no sidewalks to walk on. It is very dark at this time. Maggie Wood, another student from Centralia High School, says, "In cross country, we often run on courses that take us down paths filled with potholes and puddles. One time, I was running and not looking where I was going, stepped in the wrong spot, and fell in mud. Also, every day, I walk home and have to walk clear into the road to avoid getting wet or along the white line if it's not too high." D. Lester says, "I remember a few days ago, I was walking home, and there was a giant puddle, so I decided to walk around, and there was a car by me. I was 2 to 3 inches off from getting my foot ran over. It usually happens a couple times a week, or I see people getting dangerously close to cars, where if they make the wrong step, they get ran over."
Thank you, Kennedy. Amber Johnson.
The following is taken from a personal experience with a Centralia High School student in 2011. His name was Blade Stufen. At the current time, he was only a sophomore at Centralia High School, just a few short months from receiving his driver's license, when, on November 9th, while walking home after school on Mount Vista Road with a friend, Blade recalled looking down at his phone for only a second, and that the next thing he remembered, he was standing in the middle of the street, looking down at his best friend, of whom was now lying on the ground. Realizing his own head was covered in blood, he stood confused, while people started to swarm around him, telling him to lie on the ground. After an ambulance arrived and placed a neck brace around Blade's neck, he could only remember the blur that surrounded him while they ran tests. Blade stated, "After that, they took x-rays to check for fractures or broken bones, which is when they found out that my neck had been broken." He also recalled being told that he was hit by a truck. He also said, "I had 8 staples in my head, my 6th vertebrae was fractured twice. I had a concussion and countless bruises all over my body. I was in a neck brace for about 4 months." Following the accident, to this day, Blade has chronic migraines and neck pain, as well as limited motor function in his hands, along with some back pain. He concluded by saying that being hit by a truck has changed his life. and that this horrible accident could have been prevented if there had only been sidewalks for his friend and himself to walk on that day after school, and that he wanted to share his story with you so no one would ever have to face such a life-changing event on the streets surrounding Centralia High School ever again.
Mackenzie Neely.
I personally have been impacted by the lack of sidewalks as a student driver and a pedestrian. Going to school at 7 a.m. in the morning when it's still dark outside, my biggest concern is the safety of the students who don't have room to walk. When we go to school, we want to feel safe and protected, and how are we supposed to do that when we don't have sidewalks to get there safely on?
In conclusion, we have come to ask you of a couple of things today. We would like for you to pursue and commit the completion of this project. It was brought up in 2009 and again in 2011, and this is something that has been put off for far too long, and we don't want to continue bringing it up and the next time it being brought up when someone has gotten seriously injured again or even a student has died because of this issue. We do not want that to happen. And if needed, we ask you to seek additional funding from TransAlta because the Economic and Community Development Board has $20 million in grants to give out. So if we need help in that area, we would like to ask you to do that. And the last thing is we would like for you to commit to collaboration with the Centralia City Council and with the other parties involved in this because, again, this is an issue, like we've stated, that is really dangerous for both the high school and middle school students. And even in just the pictures alone, it's terrible to see all of the puddles, and we know in Washington how much it rains, so it's not often that you see these dry spots. There's mostly puddles there, so we just want it to be safe for the drivers as well. We don't want anyone to be held liable for hitting a student, and we want the students to feel safe. So thank you so much for your time, and we hope that you'll consider our proposal.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a few statements and ask all the people that are standing up here to give your name. And I know a few of you have received some honors recently, like MVP, and also some music honors and the homecoming queen. I mean, we've got student leaders here and I think student body chair. So if you could say your name and any community involvement or your particular position that you hold at the school.
I'm Kennedy Woods, and there's a couple of us here. We actually just got first at regionals for large ensemble. I personally am running for Miss Lewis County, so I am involved with that, and I am in a lot of other community things as well.
I'm a part of leadership. I did the solo and ensemble competition this weekend and got first place with Morgan Fast right here in a duet, and then another duet that I was in. And I try to be involved in school and outside of school with a lot of music things. Mackenzie Neely.
Hello, my name is Amber Johnson, and I, again, was a part of the ensemble that placed for state. I'm also currently the ASB Vice President as well, along with some other community involvement.
I'm Morgan Fast, Centralia's ASB President, and I recently, as well, placed with the ensemble and with Mackenzie with our duet, and I won the first soprano category for solo and ensemble.
I'm Bryce Gilmore. I'm ASB Secretary. I play volleyball on fast pitch, and I was homecoming queen. And for volleyball, I got first team all league, and then made the all area team as well.
I'm Maddie Cruz. I played soccer for the first time this year, so that was interesting. I have played basketball forever, and I got league MVP this year. And I play fast pitch too, and I'm also the ASB treasurer. And I do a lot of other activities. But
Hi, my name is Laban Ali. I'm ASB activity director and I'm FFA reporter. I also am homecoming king. So.
That's right. And the staff that are here too?
Ellen Termine, assistant principal and the activities director, and share the leadership teacher position for our leadership class.
We have our superintendent here, and
Yes. Mark Davalo, superintendent, proud to be associated with these wonderful students and very much support the safety of our kids each and every day. So we really hope that you think seriously about supporting and committing to this change that we need immediately. Thank you.
and there's 2 other staff there, I think.
My name is June Lee, and I am ASB leadership teacher. I'm very proud of it. Thank you.
Yes.
You guys know me, but I'm Ed Peterson. I'm the public relations coordinator for the district.
Thank you. This is an issue that's close to my heart. I live on Sunnyside Drive, about 2 blocks from Borst Avenue, and when my mother was alive in her 90s, she was taking her walker down to Safeway on Borst, and that was very troubling. When I was on city council, we were talking, Borst Avenue was on the top of our transportation plan, money was an issue, and then we had some money, and at that point it was diverted to improve Gold Street. It was a vote of 6-1, and I was that one because I still believe Borst Avenue is the highest priority for the city. So I appreciate everything that you've done to bring this issue to everybody's knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Okay.
Colonel Ron Averill.
Mr. Ron Averill and former county commissioner. I can't believe that we have a shy PIO. Before you guys leave, I think that this is a huge demonstration that our kids that are going through our schools today are solid young students, and they're learning how to be part of how we make government work. To petition against grievance is a basic right that you have in the Constitution. I'm really happy that your leadership class is giving the opportunity for them to do this. Edna, you spoke about the fact, and you've all mentioned that this particular project goes way back. We creeped it up on the city council list. One of the problems that we have on this particular street is that most of this area is in the county and not the city. So that even if the city were able to do something about it, they do it from the middle school up to Schuber Road. The rest of it is a county problem. So it has always been a problem that has had to come before the TSC in order to get a problem. We thought we were going to get there. And I've been along with Edna on this because I was the first district when I was a commissioner. And we thought we were going to get the road fixed. And then the college decided that they wanted to close Washington Street. We couldn't close Washington Street without fixing the signals at U Street. And that money took it down below what we could get the project, and so Gold Street got the money. Cycle, as you know, is now around, and Centralia is trying to come back in. It would be, perhaps we need to go to the Crab, to Trans-Alda, but we really need to fix this problem. They're not just talking, however, about Borst. It is increasingly a problem on Esham. It is increasingly a problem on Mount Vista. And so we're really looking at a bigger problem. But this is something that we need to really get serious about and sit down, again, probably through the TSC, get this properly done. It's already on the 6-year transportation plan.
It's always been near the top.
It's near the top. We need to do it. Thank you very much.
And these student leaders are going to be meeting with Tim Elsey, our Public Works Director, afterward to get some input.
And before you go, I, as a former educator, principal, teacher, coach, all the things above, I would like to thank you for coming here because, you know, and Mr. Bozard and I were just talking about engaging in the political process where there's apathy, where whatever it is, and I taught civics and government, and I appreciate you being here because you are the future, And by you willing to come in here and support your project does make a big difference. And I think that that's, and I thank you, I applaud you for doing that, and welcome you anytime we can get people in this courthouse. Not that the older people aren't welcome, but we want all the people to come in though. So anyway, so thank you for being here, and I much appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Do the notice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Schulte, I make a motion to approve the notice agenda. One item, resolution number 16-059.
Second?
Motion has been made and seconded. Tim Elsey.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Elsey, Public Works Director, speaking to item number 1 on your notice agenda, and this is the call for bids for the 2016 traffic paint proposal. Bids are due to the clerk of the board on or before 11 a.m. Tuesday, March 8th, 2016. This is resolution number 16-059. This will allow us to go out to bid to stripe about 350 miles of road in the county, although it varies if you have a skip stripe or a solid stripe. But one of the things that this bid does is it is only for bidding purposes, so it allows us to move the amount of miles striped up or down as need be and funding allows. Thank you.
Any questions on the notice agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Notice agenda is approved.
I move that we approve the consent agenda, items 2 through 11, resolution number 16-060 through 069.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. The first item is the distressed counties funds. We made some changes this year in the number of board members. Both ports have a permanent seat. Both cities have a permanent seat. And there's an option to allow an additional organization to be involved, and it can be anyone that has items that we're addressing. So this year we've invited the Chehalis Industrial Commission. In the future we're going to look at inviting somebody from IPAD onto that board, but this year the Industrial Commission has been invited, and that's Mr. Buck Hubbard will be sitting on that board.
Good morning, Commissioners. Suzette Smith, Auditor's Office, Financial Services Division, here to present to you agenda item number 3. This is resolution number 16-061, and it includes the approval of warrants and payroll for payment of claims against the various county departments. This resolution is for 2 weeks due to the holiday last Monday. We had 360 regular warrants, numbers 741842 through 741946. Number 741993 through 742246 and 742398 for a total dollar amount $925,546.12. In addition, we had a draw day on February 19th. Those were warrants 742399 through 742636 and warrant number 742802 for a total of 239 payroll-related warrants. Total dollar amount, $276,881. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Archie Smith with Lewis County Human Resources. I am presenting item number 4, resolution number 16-062, authorizing the initial placement of a reserve position on the salary grid. This is pretty much standard operating procedure. What is occurring is the Sheriff's Office, with agreement from the Operations Guild, has created a reserve position. This is a casual, non-represented position performing non-essential duties that deputies would do, but do not require the full skill set of them. In order to hire competent people, the sheriff is not able to hire within the casual salary range, so we actually place the position at grade 13 on the regular salary grid to allow the sheriff to hire those positions. And in order to do that, we must submit a resolution to the board for approval to come outside the extra help casual grid.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kevin Hansen, Chief of Corrections for the Lewis County Sheriff. I'm here to speak on item number 5, which is resolution number 16-063. This is a renewed prisoner housing contract between the Department of Corrections and the Lewis County Sheriff's Office. The renewed contract allows for a 3% increase in the daily bed rate for 2016, 17, and 18 for a total of 3% per year, which is the maximum allowed by Washington state law. Any questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Ellensey, Public Works Director, speaking to item 6, 7, and 8 on your consent agenda. Item number 6 is resolution number 16-064, and this is forming the rules of business for the Utility Review Committee according to Lewis County Code Title 13 and RCW 3694. And as you're aware, Lewis County Public Works has prepared a new water system plan for the City of Vader and Enchanted Valley water system. This was submitted to the state in November of last year. Prior to adoption of this plan, the RCW 3694 states that the county legislative authority shall submit the plan to a utility review committee, and Lewis County Code 1320-030 established a utility review committee consistent with RCW 3694. However, since that time, the members of that committee are no longer able to serve. It was Lee Gross, Donna Truman, and then a Vader City Council member that are no longer, and that person is no longer on the City Council. So this will establish the rules for the Utility Review Committee and also state the members that would be on the committee so that the plan can be reviewed and submitted to the Board of County Commissioners for approval. This does not in any way co-opt the public hearing process, so the water system plan will go through the public hearing process for approval.
So what are our options with this plan?
With this Utility Review Committee rules?
It says the rules in this resolution will not circumvent the hearing process.
Correct. So this Utility Review Committee will make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners as to whether or not you want to accept the water system plan that we have previously amended, but it's a new water system plan as well, and submitted to Department of Health. Once that recommendation is made to the Board of County Commissioners, you can act on it at that point by setting a hearing to approve the water system plan or amending it. The next item on your agenda is item number 7, resolution number 16-065, and this is approving a Title VI non-discrimination agreement with the Washington State Department of Transportation. As you're aware, every year we have to approve a Title VI non-discrimination agreement with WashDOT, and this is required by the Code of Federal Regulations and basically says that we won't discriminate against any person or business on the basis of race, sexual orientation, et cetera, et cetera. Every year we have to renew this, and this is required in order for us to be able to get federal funds. And so every year in order for us to renew this, we have to change this because the chair changes. And that's what we're doing this year. It's a housekeeping matter. And then finally, item number 8, resolution 16-066, approving the purchase of 4 new Ford pickup trucks for the Public Works Department. And these pickups were budgeted and scheduled and approved for replacement in 2016. Corwin Ford offers Ford pickup trucks through the current Washington State contract. Lewis County has a cooperative agreement, purchasing agreement with Washington State, and these pickups will be purchased with ER&R funds.
And this is off the state contract?
That's correct. The state goes out to bid for these vehicles, and they go out to bid for all kinds of vehicles every year. Different vendors receive different bids off of their bid proposal. They receive the contracts off of their bid proposal, and so Corwin Ford this year is the one with these Ford pickup trucks. Thank you.
I was just going to say, that's one of the questions I receive in the community, like why aren't we buying local? And everybody has a chance, as a car dealership, to get into this. At one time, when I was a state employee, I remember we did have it in Lewis County. One of our car dealerships did get the state contract.
Yes. Yes,
And so
absolutely.
these are bidding, and so it's a competitive situation.
Yeah, and it uses the power of the large bid to get prices down. And some of the prices that we get are simply incredible. To be able to get new Ford two-wheel drive Escape, just I know that one off the top of my head is about $20,000. And to buy that on the open market is quite a bit more than that.
According to my math, which is sometimes suspect, it's about $53,000 a piece for these pickups. Is that correct? 217?
No.
How many of them?
There's 4.
Oh, there's 4.
Yes.
He was a civics.
Okay. Sorry, I forgot how many were.
You just confirmed it.
There you go. Of course, I put a disclaimer out right from the beginning.
We understand.
I gave the disclaimer right away.
Yes, you
so
did.
There you go.
Good for it.
I'm certainly glad we clarified that.
Yes.
I'm glad too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, Tim, Mr. Elsey, don't you have somebody in the audience that's with us for the next few days that's retiring?
Shirley Cook, yes, and she will be helping me when we do the public hearing a little bit later. And actually, thank you very much, because I would like to thank Shirley Cook for her service to Lewis County for 18 years. And she's served the Public Works Department since I've been there as a utility engineer. And, you know, my saying, and I know she's tired of hearing it by now, is that when Shirley thinks, I listen. Because she is an engineer's engineer, and she doesn't talk a lot, but when she does, boy, you better listen, because she's thought it out. So, but we will miss her very much.
We will.
Good morning. Danette York, Director of Public Health and Social Services, and I'm speaking to the last 3 items on the consent agenda, items 9, 10, and 11. Number 9 is resolution number 16-067. And this is approving a contract between Lewis County and Salvation Army for people who are experiencing or at risk of experiencing homelessness. So as you know, we receive state dollars for this type of program, and then we subcontract it out to our local providers. So this is our subcontract going with Salvation Army, and the total is for $31,775. And it is for January 1st, 2016 through June 30th of 2017. So that's an 18-month contract. Item number 10, resolution number 16-068. This is approving another agreement with using our chemical dependency, mental health, and therapeutic court sales tax. That's the 0.1% sales tax for behavioral health. This agreement is with between Lewis County and Cascade Mental Health, but it will actually be for use of Centralia School District to do the early intervention program for $15,000 per year for 2 years.
Thank you.
And finally, number 11, resolution number 16-069. This is appointing a member to the Veterans Advisory Board. This is for Larry Mason. He's already been serving on the board for a number of months in a alternate position, and we had a vacancy for a permanent position or regular position, so he's just going to move right into that. And his appointment will go through June 30th of 2016, so as he is filling a role, so we will probably reappoint him again here in a few months if he is interested in continuing. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions on the consent agenda? No. Call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is passed. The next will be a hearing. We'll start out with a staff presentation. After the staff presentation, there will be an opportunity for questions. We will close the question and answer period and open for public comment. 3 minutes for public comment. If you would like to talk about the Title 13, please sign up for comment. And then we will consider approving Ordinance 1265, repealing and replacing Lewis County Title 13 Public Utilities. So Shirley, is this your last command performance here? Now, Shirley Cook used to be my neighbor up into the flood of '07, and then she moved to drier ground. We will open the hearing, and you can commence with your report.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Elsey, Public Works Director, along with Shirley Cook, our utility engineer. And we are here today to consider an ordinance repealing Title 13 and replacing it with a new Title 13. We have provided copies of the old and the new title on the ledge over here if anyone would like to go through it. I'm happy to take some time and go through the changes with you. We can do that fairly quickly. But I do want to say that the proposed revisions to Title 13 are mainly for clarification. It's the inclusion of water design standards, which were never part of Title 13 before. It's the inclusion of a cross-connection control program and a water conservation program. Other than that, there are a lot of clarifications that have been made, some Scrivener errors that have been corrected, and that's the main body of the changes that we have right now. Would you like for me to go through and just basically tell the Commission in general forms how this has changed?
Please do.
Okay. First of all, you'll note that we have added standard drawings in the back of the title, which have never been part of the process. So, under the definitions, we have changed some definitions slightly, just for clarification. One is under low-income senior citizen resident customer, and we've changed that now to allow for more than one person household in accordance with the Utilities Division policy. In the past, we calculated the low income based on one person household, and in the future, we will allow that to be more than one person, up to 3-person household. I know that probably doesn't make sense, so let me explain that a little bit better. The Community Development Block Grant puts out thresholds for low income rates every year, and that's based on the number of people in the household. And so in the past, we have allowed that only as a one-person household, and we're allowing that to go up to the number of people in the household in the future in accordance with the utility policies. Then when you get to the first section, administration, there are only wording clarifications. The same in the utility division, the next section, 1320.020, that's only wording clarifications. 1340, there was a bit of a title change there in that if you read the first sentence, it states that fees, charges, rates, deposits, and normal working hours for water and sewer service shall be set by the board by resolution. In the past, we had the hours in the ordinance, which was unworkable, so we'll set that now by resolution. We've added a clarification on the class of customers. And then under liability, we've updated the liability language and referenced the RCW, but there aren't any changes other than that. Under violation and appeals, that's 1320.060. We have added sentence under B, that the county utility may perform work at the property owner's or applicant's expense. The cost of such work shall be per Lewis County Code, and that allows us to perform work if there's a violation. Beyond that, we've just done formatting for the next several sections. Under section 1330.100, we've added a paragraph, and that paragraph comes immediately after the first sentence. And it says a complete application along with written approvals from the local community development authority for consistency with the local approved and comprehensive plan development regulations and applicable standards, written approval from the local building authority for the structure to be served, and any other information that may be required or requested by the utility division must be submitted to determine proposed water demands, cross-connection control measures, and other potential impacts to the water or sewer system. In layman's terms, what that means is that we have to get the local planning authority's approval before we can serve a property. In other words, if someone comes in to put a manufacturing plant in a residential community, then we would have to wait for the local jurisdiction's approval before we could provide them with water. There are, under water meters, we added a sentence there, but that's because we added a new code section. We added the sentence, issuance of a water meter associated with new development of the system will be per Lewis County Code 1360-100, and that's a new code section, so it's a reference. Then there are clarifications beyond that until we get to 1330-145, and that's non-potable water sources within the service area. And this has been reworked, and the cross-connection control program is new. I won't read through that entire section. Under 1330-200 variance, the second paragraph is new, and that paragraph states the applicant shall be responsible for all costs incurred in the review of the variance request, regardless of whether the variance request is approved or denied. The minimum fee to process and review the variance request shall be the current approved fee applicable to Public Works deviation request. Additional costs may include review by the utility division personnel, local, state, and federal agencies, compliance measures for Lewis County Code 1330-150, and required documentation and approvals by local, state, and federal agencies. Beyond that, we have some wording changes, but nothing substantive. Under section 133510, unlawful discharges to county sewers, we added item number 10, and that's other discharges if determined to be incompatible with the county's treatment system. This just allows, currently we don't have a sewer system, but in the future it allows us to ensure that we don't accept effluent that we can't treat. In other words, if it's high in metal contents, but our treatment facility would not reduce those metal contents. Under the 1330-700 Water Conservation Program, that is new, and it sets different levels of water conservation and when those levels are necessary. Under 1340 Latecomer Utility Hookups, there are only formatting changes to that chapter. Chapter 1350, Design Guidelines, only formatting changes to that chapter. 1360 is a new section, and that's our construction guidelines for water construction. I won't go through that unless you would like for me to. Basically, it's just the design standards that should be in a title concerning the construction of any water or sewer utility.
And so this will prevent the different pipes, repairs done without replacing cutoff valves, that type of stuff?
It does, and it gives just general design standards and workmanship standards.
Tim, under this replacement ordinance, will this drive the price up for the consumer?
No.
Okay. That's, I know there's a lot of changes and
Good question. Good question. No, this is mainly clarification and adding sections that we're required to have as part of our code with a cross-connection control program and a conservation program. And it certainly gives the contractors consistency and so that they know what to expect when they're doing business in our water system. This, if anything, I think this will help the contractors immensely. So beyond that, under conditions of utility service, we have some clarifying language that's gone in there. I won't go into it case by case because there's a fair amount of clarifying language. I will say under the backflow prevention requirements, we added a sentence at the end, and that is Chapter 1380-100, Conditions of Utility Service, and that's paragraph 6, backflow prevention requirements. We added the sentence that said, the property owner shall be responsible for all testing and backflow prevention requirements in accordance with the cross-connection control program. That's just clarifying. Other than that, clarifying language. Beyond that, do you want to point out paragraph 12, termination of service? It says sufficient causes to terminate service are delinquency and non-payment of water service. And then we added the next statement, finding by the utility division of actual or potential connections, actions, or non-compliance with utility requirements that could contaminate the water system by backflow or impact the utility's ability to provide safe and reliable drinking water. We added paragraph 18, utility access. And it states the utility division shall have access to water service meters, valves, hydrants, and other facilities owned by the utility division at all times. A 3-foot clear radius from the utility structure must be maintained at all meter and valve boxes, vaults, and above-ground structures. Access to fire hydrants shall never be blocked. Obstructions to the utility division structures is not permitted, and the utility division shall disconnect service to the premises if the customer does not remove the obstructions. After that, in 1380-200, cost of meter installation, there are just clarifications. And then in 1380-410, we've separated meter on and off charges. But just a clarification. Under 1380-452, hydrant testing charges, we just made that clear. This is a paragraph that allows us to go into private hydrants and flush them and test them for the private individual, but it also allows us to charge for that work, but excludes the cost of firefighting on that. And
so you're saying you can charge them to test or maintain the fire hydrants, but not charge them for the firefighting water?
Now, the water will be charged through the meter if it goes through a meter, but other than that, there is no charge for us to go in and do any services. I can read it through if you need clarification on it.
Firefighting uses of the hydrant are exempt from hydrant testing charges. What does that mean?
So I'll just read it quickly. It says, and this is 1380-452, hydrant testing charges. There should be a hydrant testing charge for flushing, general maintenance, testing of hydrant facility, and operation of the hydrant as requested by the local fire department, special fire protection district, or owner of hydrant requesting utility operations of the hydrant. This charge shall apply for hydrants not owned by the utility division. Any repairs and associated work of the hydrant performed by the utility division will be at the actual cost plus overhead.
You skipped a sentence.
The firefighting uses of the hydrant are exempt from the hydrant testing charges. We struck that, actually, in our review of this on Friday or Thursday.
So it's in mine, but it's not in yours anymore.
Correct. So we're just striking that sentence.
That's the sentence that confused me.
It did us as well. And other than that, they're just clarifications, and then at the end, we've added the standard drawings. Are there any questions?
Does the board have any questions?
No.
Yes, sir.
Does the public have any questions? Ron Averill from Centralia area. I need a little bit of clarification on the, you said poverty, the number of people for the poverty level in a household. Okay, just exactly what does that relate to? Do they get a lesser rate if they are below a certain poverty level? Okay.
That's correct. We give senior low-income discounts so that they have to pay only 1/2 of the base rate.
Okay, so what is the function of having 2 or 3 people below the poverty level? Are they cumulatively?
Community Development Block Grant has a level that they put out every year. For a one-person household, it may be $20,000. For a two-person household, it might be $23,000 would be the income cutoff, $3,000, and it just goes up. So this allows us to use the figure associated with the number of people in that household.
Okay, so it's not necessarily their income, it's the number of people. I guess what I'm concerned is that I know that we at one time had a real problem because when we talk about single-family residence, it's families, it's not number of people in there. And Bill, you'll remember we got into a problem out in the rural area because we didn't previously designate that it was family members, and so we found households with 10 people in them. So there, I want to make sure there's not a conflict with our county regulations or, in the case of Vader, the city regulations and the number of people that can be in the household.
I don't believe there is, no. This is purely for a discount for senior low income.
But I guess the question he's asking is, are there 4 members in a household if 2 are parents and 2 are children? Is that a 4-member household?
It is.
Okay.
For Community Development Block Grant income levels, yes.
May want to make sure that we
Apples
don't,
and oranges,
that when we're talking about a residence, that it's a family residence. It's not a
So you're not
an apartment house
talking
or
about a
something.
retiree with 2 rooms rented out to other people who also have jobs?
Well, it depends. So if you have one person in the household and they're living by themselves, then it's at 1 income threshold. If it's husband and wife, then that income threshold goes up to about
Even if there's
$23,000.
only 1 income?
Correct.
So if you have husband and wife and 2 children, you've got 4 people, just 1 income, as opposed to renting out 2 rooms and you have 3 people in the house and 3 incomes.
Yes, but so I think what we're missing here is that this actually helps the larger number of people in the household if there's only 1 income. So what this means is that if you have 4 people in the household, and I'm going to pick a round figure of $30,000 at this point. Say the threshold is $30,000. If you have 1 person with an income and they make less than $30,000, but greater than $20,000, which would be the single person threshold, then they would still qualify for the exemption. However, if you have more income than $30,000 with all of the people in the household, then they would not qualify. Does that make sense?
I guess I'm also looking at the other. If I'm a retiree and to make ends meet, I have to rent out 2 rooms. Now I have a 3-person household and all 3 have incomes.
That's income. If you're renting the rooms out, that's income that we have to look at when we're giving a senior no or low income exemption. Any income that comes into the household is something that we have to look at.
I understand that if I have rent, I have to count that as income. but do I have to count the two renters' income in my count?
I don't believe so, but
Our application form, okay, take a situation.
Closer to the mic, please.
Take a situation where you have a senior low-income person. Let's say he or she is reporting income of $12,000 a year. They rent a room out, and let's say they get an additional $12,000. That brings their income up to $24,000 a year. But in looking at their, you might say the table, we would say, okay, if that person is not a spouse that you're getting your $12,000 from, we would look at the cutoff for one person in that situation. Now, if the same person had, let's say they had to take care of children, so now that person, along with renting a room out, their income is $24,000, but he or she has another dependent. So they're basically a household of two getting $24,000. And that would make that person, and then let's say the cutoff for one person was at $24,000. So with that additional dependent, that person could not qualify for the low income. With our proposed changes, that person would now qualify for the low income.
I understand that part. I guess I didn't explain it well. So if I'm a retiree and I'm making $20,000 a year, and I rent a room out for $500 a month, and so now I'm making $26,000 a year, and that other individual is making an income of $30,000 a year, is that $56,000 a year? That was the question I was asking.
Yeah,
So
no.
it's not their income figured into the house.
Correct.
It's the owner's income figured into the house, and then number of people.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? Then we'll close the question and answer period. Would you like your comments and statements entered into the record?
Yes, please.
Are there any statements? Now we'll open into the statement period. No one has signed up. Anybody have any comments, a statement? Then I will close the public testimony portion of this hearing and consider approving the ordinance.
I've got a couple questions, but probably I'm not going to ask them now, so we're good.
Well, if you don't ask them now,
No,
they don't count.
I know.
Go ahead and
This is
ask.
for clarification. Okay, so I want to make sure, again, I heard all the testimony and all the information, so I just want to make sure here, because it's going to benefit by being allowed to elevate that number in there, that's going to benefit the people that will low-income people and all the other, making sure that that's not going to, I look at this was the situation I look at. A grandparent come in, and maybe they have to raise their two grandkids. And again, that, even though technically they are not dependents, but they are going to have to elevate those. They will be allowed to use that as, to their benefit, correct? That will not count against them because they have two grandchildren in that household. Is that correct?
It will benefit them.
Okay.
And so, to explain it, in the way that the rules were in the past, in that very situation, say the cutoff for a three-person household was $30,000 and the cutoff for a one-person household was $20,000. So in the past, if they made more than $20,000 but less than $30,000, they would not qualify. With the new rules changes, they will qualify.
Okay, because this is not the norm, but it's getting close to the norm now. We see this a lot. So, again, that's what I wanted to make sure. And I think Bill also clarified it also on his end. So, yes, that was, I just wanted to make sure. So, okay. I make a motion.
Do you have another comment, Ron?
Okay.
This is Ron Averill again. Mark this as testimony as opposed to a question. But as you know, whenever we reduce the rates for one group, we increase them for everybody else. And I have no problem with the grandparent situation that you talk about, Bill. That brings in some young folks, and they're on Social Security, and this keeps them in the break so that they don't do that. I do have a problem with your area where I bring someone that is able to pay the bill into the household as a renter, and now that person still keeps, because we're counting heads instead of income, still keeps his lower rate, which everybody else has to pay for, and he has the capability to pay the rate because of what he's getting from that renter that's in there. I think that should be avoided myself. Just a comment.
And if I could answer that, I think Colonel Averill misunderstood what we said before, and that if there is a renter, that wouldn't be a two-person household, that would still be a one-person household, but they would have to claim that rental income. But if that rental income still keeps them less than the threshold, they would still get the discount.
So it's a landlord situation, pretty much.
Because they don't benefit from the income of that person.
And you're talking in regards to the community development block grants?
Right.
For those surveys?
That's correct. The thresholds.
We're not talking about their payment of their water bill.
It
could be.
It is a discount on their water bill if they meet the community development block grant thresholds. And it's for senior low income or disabled low income. And what that means is they would pay half the base rate plus all of their water usage.
So if they have renters that are using water, they would pay for the water rate, the standard water rate for any of those renters?
Correct. So the idea in the income threshold is that all of the income can be thrown into one pot and utilized to run the household. In a renter situation, you can't do that.
So then I will reclose the testimony portion of this and entertain the motion.
I make a motion approving Ordinance 1265, repealing and replacing the LCC Title 13 Public Utilities.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Just a question. How many people are on the Vader water system?
366, I think, is what we have right now.
Is it?
If no further discussion, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ordinance passes.
Seeing no further business, I move we adjourn.
I second.
Motion is made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.